Welcome, everyone. I am Michelle Brown. Some of you may or may not know me, but I think most of you do. That's why you come to my free sessions sometimes. And some of you, I've seen a couple of you that I know you're already in the program, which is great because sometimes you feel like there's something you're missing or you don't want to miss anything. So, welcome, whether you're already in my program or not. Even if you're in my program and you want to ask me questions live, that's perfectly fine too. Okay, so let's get into it. And for the sake of not assuming that everyone knows who I am, I'm going to tell you just a couple of things about myself. My vision has always been to teach businesses how to win, not just in government contracts. I didn't start in government contracts. I have always been a business developer. I understand business, period. That's why I know you cannot treat this like a side hustle. This is a real business. And it takes, yes, it takes time, but people sometimes get there faster than they expect. And I do take pride in the fact that I'm a very process oriented person. So I documented everything that I did when I added government contracting to my business. And you guys, most of you know I have different businesses. And it is a lot. It's a lot to do multiple businesses, but your mind has to work differently. You have to have commitment, focus. You have to really want it. So anybody can do a transaction. I do teach you things step by step, but anybody can do that. The goal is to have your vision not aligned with mine, but the goal is for me to take my vision and teach you how to build your vision. Building a government contracting enterprise can be easy if you learn my steps and you focus and you be consistent. Okay. So selling products to DLA, it is one of the fastest ways to win. Even if you have a service business, you should consider a multiple stream situation where you could do both. You should have different streams of revenue anyway. You should never focus on one thing at a time. I have never had only one business. Now, was I struggling to do it most of the time by myself in the beginning? Absolutely. Did I have to learn how to let people help me? Absolutely. But I had to learn it first. Never hire people and you don't know what they're supposed to be doing. I'm going to have hundreds of people in my manufacturing. I already have a nice size right now, but do those people report to me? No, they do not. They're not my employees. They report to my executive team. But do I know what those people are supposed to be doing? I sure do. Do I know how to manufacture personally? I do not. Do I know how to make our product? I do. But I don't have to get on the floor and make it. So products are very, very important today because right now, this administration that we have, I don't care what people say about this administration, it's one of the most valuable. I'm going to make hundreds of millions of dollars. I am not kidding you because of this administration demanding that these government agencies only use domestic products. People don't even know that. So DLA is a very special place to be right now because you learn all about how the product process works. You're going to meet manufacturers and suppliers that may want to work with you, or you'll do like I did. Some of you know my stories. I went out there and found my own manufacturers and said, will you make this for me? I was still the prime. Will you make this for me? So those are the things you learn. So DLA is a fast, stronger way for you. It's faster, but it's a stronger way for you to learn the foundation of government, period. And if you can learn DLA, then you can go on the SAM side and do products as well. And then it gives you more confidence to do services if you would like to. So you know that there are tens of thousands of products requested by contracting officers daily. And I'm not over exaggerating. There's probably a million opportunities sitting right out there on what I call the DLA marketplace, just sitting there. Some of them moves, of course, a lot of them move, but some of them just sit there like 6 months, a year. And, those are what I call low hanging fruit. Somebody needs to solve this problem because the government tells us everything that they need, but this happens daily. They want to buy something. And I need to change this. They want to buy something. It's really not want. They must buy something. When I say they, I'm talking the government, I'm talking contracting officers. There is no want. They must buy. If you think of it that way, even though I started out saying as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you need to sell, this is this is the easiest sell that you could ever have in your entire life. The easiest sale. You don't have to figure out what they need. So you go make a product. They tell you. That's why it's easy. You can focus on the process and not having to figure out other things. Okay. So it's the greatest deal in the world. And then you could have the government as a client for a lifetime or as long as you want or don't want. But they must buy something. That something is those tens of thousands of things. This is specific, not just to DLA, but today we're talking about DLA, but all across the board. The government used to spend approximately $400 billion in contracting, working with us, because they don't do business, they don't know how to do it. Now it is up to $600 billion. The other thing that Obama did was he created what we call that USA spending. I could not believe when that was created. The only reason he created it is because he wanted us to know where the money was going. So what did I do? I took that information. Every time we get a new president, I listen to what they're doing. Or I go to their website, read the documentation to see what their strategic plan is. That's how I know so much. Not just because I'm smart, but I mean, I'm okay, but I go and find out, I get information, and then I share it with you. And I use it myself. So one of the things that USA spending did was it allowed me to go around the country and teach people like you where the money is. It was amazing. Those businesses could not believe the amount of money that was in their state because these politicians, all of them, were on the news saying, I think that $750 billion recovery fund is ridiculous. Well, guess what? It would have affected all of this. He would not, when I say he, the Obama administration would not have had people like me and you out here trying to support the contracting officers to buy these products. But guess what? They were all lying. They acted like they didn't want that money. They took that money. Every last one of them took that money because what he wanted to do was take that $750 billion and spread it all over the country, and it worked. That's how we got back to normal. These are things people don't even know. So when you're talking about politics, I hate it too. But I think people should be judged as individuals and what you see them doing. But with all the noise, you don't know what people are doing. You just listen to the hype because that's the loudest noise. This right here, they must buy something. So getting back to today, what must we buy? Well, eventually DLA, or I should say, what must they buy? What must we sell to them? I talked about the domestic manufacturing. Right now, we can still sell millions and billions of dollars worth of items to the DLA community, but there's some things out there you might see. It says very amendment compliant. That's why we need to do this now. We need to get all of these contracts now, and then we can use this foundation, which is exactly what I've done, to build, whether you want to be a manufacturer yourself, whether you want to have someone else do it for you, because that's just as easy. You find what we call a contract manufacturer, but domestic products being built right here, being made right here, that's the ticket. That even if he goes away, when I say he, that administration, the Biden administration, these are laws that are ingrained in the system, but people may start to try to mess with them because big business runs this country. That's who runs this country. Government don't know much of nothing, quite frankly. That's why I think this was one of the smartest things. So what they're doing now is at my level, in certain items that my manufacturing company supplies, they're making it so I don't have to compete with foreign countries that can give better pricing. They're saying if this product costs $7 from overseas, well, Michelle is charging 14. I mean, we can't pay that. Well, the Biden administration is saying if she's making that here, you're going to pay $14. He's going to change our entire market. When I say the entire market, right now we're used to cheap things. I like cheap things too. I'm just like everybody else, but I didn't know how it was damaging our country. Of course, They can make things cheaper. They have things that are against our laws. Slave labor. We don't do slave labor over here. We pay people. But these large corporations don't want to pay people. So what do? They're the ones. They're the ones over there sending everything overseas because they don't want to pay their employees a fair minimum wage or an average wage. And so there is a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. I know a little bit. I know we're not doing well with China at all, because they were killing us making products. And now this administration, he's competing with them. He's saying, not on my watch. And what we're going to do is we're going to tell the Army, all of DOD, except DLA right now, we're going to tell all of DOD, you cannot buy this product without getting the right authority. So let's say it's the Army. The Army needs something and they can't find it here. Let's say it's some blankets. They need some special blankets. They can't find it made in the United States. So they have to go and get what we call a waiver, what the government calls a waiver, that will allow them to buy those blankets from somewhere else. But you know what they must do first? They must put out a sources sought. Even DLA does it. They do it over on the SAM side. They put out these sources sought. They must put out a sources sought first. They must prove through a process that they cannot find this item with any manufacturer, big, small, medium, micro, they cannot find it. So they have to get approval to buy that product from another entity outside of this country. And that's happening with DOD. DOD cannot do it except for the DOA. Veterans Administration cannot do it. Homeland Security cannot do it. The big procurement agency that helps all of the agencies figure out how to buy things, they cannot do it. Health and Human Services cannot do it, which includes the CDC. Those are all of my areas that I focus on. I focus on Health and Human Services. I focus on Veterans Administration. They must work with companies like ours, but they can't find us unless we are showing up. So they must buy something, and you don't have to sell it to them, but you're in control. All you need is the commitment, the discipline, and the consistency. That's it. If you can do those things, you'll be fine. And with the way that I teach you guys how to do these things, it's the reason I do things in steps is because it keeps you focused. You're not thinking about all these other things. You're staying focused. So there are 3 things you have to have. You have to have a product, which I just told you. The government is going to tell you what products they need. So you just choose one from the list and you start researching them. It's as simple as that. Now, some people have difficulty deciding which product. I get it. It's 5,000 items on that list, and they're all not exactly explaining the right way. So you have to take what we call a code, an FSC code, and then you put it in the DLA system. And then that says, okay, this says monitors. No, this says this says monitors, but these are televisions. They sometimes don't call things exactly the same things that we do. That's why you have to look at the list, choose an FSC category or categories, and then go to the DIBS system to look it up. And you don't have to already be in the system to do this. It's open. You just can't get in there to bid. And some things you can't see, but you can do all of your research before you even get into the program. So products, you need products. You need suppliers to help you win. You need suppliers to match to the products, right? Unless you make the products yourself, which is going to be, well, it's already started. My situation has already started that way. Matter of fact, I'm provided a product that I didn't even realize. Like, we make chemical materials to make our own products. I did not even realize until I did a sources sought, because I saw it with, it's one of these agencies, a DOD agency. They were using a company that was out of the country. And again, the Biden administration said, you can't do that anymore. This is protection, because this is also what it's about. That's why I say I think there are things going on we don't know about. So the Biden administration said, you can't use that company in China anymore. You got to find somebody over here. I don't care what you got to do. And that's how they found us. We were not planning to sell our chemical materials at first. I mean, it was part of my vision down the line. But when I saw that, I said, they need this material. And so I responded. Next thing you know, I am not kidding you, within 3 days, or I was shocked at how fast it was. I would say I think I'm over exaggerating when I say 3 days. It might have even been 2 days. I responded, asking a couple of questions, and then I submitted a sources sought package. Within a few days, they contacted me and said, we need to know, number one thing, are you very compliant? Meaning, am I making our products? We making our products domestically? I said yes, and the discussion started. Do you have any questions for us? Can you do this? Can you do this? And before we could even get to discussing how this would work, they wanted to make sure that I was in SAM, this manufacturing company was in SAM, that our products were very, very compliant, specifically what they needed. They asked us, could we create this end product for them? And I felt we could. And so I took it to my chemical team, and they said, we can do that. But we did not have they needed us to use a specific, we had the material, the chemical mixture, but we did not have the other material that they needed us to add to this chemical mixture after the chemical materials were turned into a product. So we couldn't find a very compliant company with the material that goes on the outside. And it took us about 3 weeks and we figured it out. We had to work with a company in Italy, but we kept looking in the United States. It's because we are not talking to each other as manufacturers and suppliers. And the government is trying to get Apex and some of these other organizations to bring us together. But these organizations that are nonprofit, they're just greedy. And they are not trying to help us. They're just trying to create something. A nonprofit can be private. And they're not giving us, like if I were to call them and say, can you tell me if you can help me find someone with this specific type of material because we're making an end product for the government, we need this other material. They would say, well, Michelle, you need to get in the organization, we can introduce you to some people, but they're not going to give me a list that I can see of manufacturers that make material. I mean, these are literally sewing, they make material through knitting. And I wouldn't have known even though I'm a sewer, I know how to sew. It's one of my hobbies from when I was a young woman, and I used to sew all the time. But I never thought to look up fiber and what else? I would say companies that literally knit, but it's not knitting. They make materials. They have special machines. So we finally found this. And before we could even get done with what we needed to do with our research, the government is trying to give us a check. Michelle, can you have your finance people fill this out so that we can pay you? Michelle, I'm thinking, pay for what? We haven't even figured out how we're going to do this for you yet. So it pushed me to move faster. And we did it. We got them samples, they did testing, and now we're just waiting for the big contract to come out. Hundreds of millions of dollars. They were so frantic. This is what you're talking about here. So right now with DLA, we could use non-compliant companies because the government already tells us we want to use this product that comes from McKesson, as an example. So I might have to go to McKesson. If I go to McKesson to get these pharmaceutical products, if McKesson doesn't have it, maybe they have some distributors that have it. Maybe I don't want to deal with McKesson because they cause me too many problems, too much headache. But I might be able to find someone as a supplier that works with McKesson. But McKesson is not a manufacturer either. So sometimes when you see suppliers, they are not real suppliers. McKesson is a distributor. I used to work for McKesson. That's where I got my corporate experience in pharmaceutical. I started with McKesson. And they used to make things, but they don't anymore. They just take everybody else's products and they make them look like I mean, they don't say that they own those products, but they are a huge distributor, which goes under here, which is what you are. They're a huge distributor. You will also be not a distributor, but you will be a supplier to the government. So it's like a big matrix. It's just you want to be as close to the product development as you can. Those of us that are making things, it makes our project profit margins so much greater once you start making things. Now, is the government going to pay a lot more? That's not the point. Even though I gave you that example earlier, the point is that the government is going to say, first of all, we got to buy it, from a source that we either know or a source that can make it for us right here in the United States. And when I say a source that we know, sometimes when you see these approved suppliers, they are not manufacturers, distributors, or suppliers. And if they are a distributor, you need to check and make sure they're not going to be competing against you. Because a supplier, whether it's distributor or retailer, they all get it from the manufacturer. Most manufacturers do not sell directly. Most of them do. Or do not, excuse me. Most of them do not because they don't want to do a sales process. I told my team, we are not going to be like that. That's stupid. Why would we not know? I'm not saying I won't do distributors. Yes, I will. But I also want to know my market. I can't know you. If you are buying a product over here, you come to me, I'm a manufacturer, and I say, well, Mr. Smith, I know you have your company. Doesn't matter how small you are, how big you are. I don't sell directly. You need to go to one of my distributors. That's how it works right now. I don't want to be like that. If one of you guys were to call me and say, if we have a distribution program and you were to say, and I have a lot of you asking me already, Michelle, you're not going to forget about us. Of course not. I just need to make sure that I understand how to develop and create a distributor program that works for all of us. It's not that hard, but I want anyone that is distributing for us, I want them to love it. I want them to feel that it's profitable for them. These companies in this arena right now, even though we know how to win with them, we could make a lot more profit if we had ones that behave differently. But right now, let's just win with them. I still use some of them, but I negotiate too. I have some of them come to me asking me, do I want to be a distributor? And I'm thinking about it in some cases because I have a whole medical side of things I don't want to make, but I want to sell it to the government. So, but I have to squeeze them, the distributor, or the manufacturer, because I'm not going to be a distributor for a distributor, but the manufacturer that comes to me to ask me, do I want to do that? If I say yes, they got to make it worth it for me, not just me making it worth it for them. So, because they're getting a lot of advertisement and things like that. But this supplier category, we got it all figured out. Now, when I say we have it all figured out, meaning I know how to tell you, don't go over there with those people. And I'm not talking about the products, I'm talking about these people. You need to vet these suppliers before you even start talking to them. You don't pick up the phone and call people you don't know anything about. Okay, so the last thing is you can start with as little as $200 to $1,500. And I only put these low numbers because a lot of you will tell me, I got $5,000. I was like, well, you got a fortune. You can afford to $5,000 in this business is a fortune. This 200 to 1,500, it's real. You can literally start building from here. And if you do things the way I teach you to do things, you will get business credit. You will make some profit, and you shouldn't be touching that profit. You should build what I call that war chest. So it really is that easy. Now, you might not be able to do this on the SAM side because some of those things on the SAM side, you need to start with 25,000 or more because SAM is for everything over 25,000. And DLA is in SAM too, by the way. Why is DLA in SAM? Because they are needing to buy things from different arenas. They're looking everywhere to buy on the bid board system and the SAM system. They're sending people side offers to, can you bid on this for me? That's what happens when you get in DLA. They see you're winning, they see you bidding, and then it's kind of like as Richard said, it's like an algorithm. it starts working by itself. The contracting officers have help. So if I'm a contracting officer and help from the system, so if I'm a contracting officer and I have 1,000 products out there that I need to buy, the system is kind of helping me because I have these deals that I need to make. Let's say I have 90 deals I need to make within 90 days. I can't get all of that done by myself fast enough. The system has to present things to me. You got 5 bids over here. You only have 1 bid over here, meaning that's you over here bidding. You took that product and you're over here bidding. And so he or she sees you, they see what you present. Now, sometimes it just sits there, but it only sits there because maybe it's not urgent. That's okay. You still plant those seeds because it starts popping off very quickly. Not if you only have a few. Now, I've seen some people only bid once. Victoria, you guys may know Hirsch she's one of my first winners, not first, but one of the winners when I started doing the videos, I should say. Victoria only bid once and she won, which was really weird to me. And it was medical. Her and her sister were in business together, and her sister is in the medical industry. And she's doing extremely well now. But she's also on the service side because she got in my staffing program too. But that's a fluke though. I mean, really it is. But it's happened to a few people. It's just a fluke. But it's probably because maybe it was sitting there a long time. I didn't ask all the details, but it was amazing. Okay, so these are the 3 things you need. That's it. And those 3 things that you need, they come in steps. So the step 1 is choosing the product. The step 2 is choosing the approved source. And the step 3 is bidding. Okay, so, and the step 3 is easy. It's not like all the paperwork. Those of you that are in the program, you already know. Once you learn how to bid, some of you study the program and you may not start bidding for a couple of weeks, and that's perfectly fine. But I walk you through it, but it feels weird the first time because you're not sure if you're doing it right. But these bids, once you learn how to do them, they take 10 to 15 minutes. That's it. And I'm being generous when I give it 15 minutes because you have these things done already. And for those of you that know about my hot list, we help you do those things. These things are already done. We'll get to that. Okay. So it's 1, 2, 3. Now, I don't want to simplify it such that you don't think you have to do no work at all, because that's not true. So for step 1, you have to choose the product. Why is that difficult sometimes? Because it's 5,000 products on there. Maybe you don't have a business, so you don't have a soft place to connect to, meaning an area that you already know. So if you're a janitorial business, that might be easy for you. You could go to where the janitorial products, and then you could immediately start. But if you're just starting a business, you need more help sometimes. And you just want to get started. Maybe you're trying to get out of corporate America or wherever you're working, and you just are frustrated because you're like, where do I start? I don't have a lot of people like that, but I can think of at least 3 or 4 that I had to just listen. Let's go over the ones that you were thinking are a possibility, and I'm going to walk you through this, and you're going to choose something. Just choose something. Business is about just starting. Nothing's going to be perfect, but the problem with those few people I've had to do this with, they were not entrepreneurs at first. They've always wanted to be, and they had the desire, they had the money. They were just afraid to take their first step. But once they took that first step here, they were off to the races. Then people are in different places because that person understood the supplier part, but they didn't understand the product part because it's so many. Like, what does it mean if I choose smaller ones? Should I choose smaller situations? I got enough money to do this one right here, this area right here, but I mean, I put aside $10,000, but how much of that should I use? They start overthinking it a little bit. So that's where I come in sometimes. Then you have step 2. Remember I said there are things you got to do. You don't just pick a supplier. But even if we tell you who the supplier is or should be, you may have to do the vetting. Of course, I'll talk to you about this, but our hot list does that too. We do all the vetting. We let you know, don't go over there, don't talk to that person, because or that company, if you talk to them, you're going to wake them up, meaning you're going to tell them what you're doing. Because basically, I just thought about this. You could be in DLA, like in the market doing your thing, and nobody won't know. Maybe there are only two other people. There's some areas that are just that low competitively, meaning nobody's over there. Maybe two or three companies are over there, and you. Maybe there's only one company that's always winning. Somebody needs to knock them out of the box. But you can be almost in your own little world and have this strategy. But the minute you call the wrong supplier, it's all over. Because what most of those suppliers are doing is they know what I know. Ain't nobody out there. We have almost 1 million businesses in SAM, if not more. Barely 20% is winning. And I just told you about the statistics with small businesses. I just told you that. So they don't worry. They're comfortable. But these contracting officers, the reason I'm convinced that I have so many winners is because these contracting officers love seeing you guys come because they want some new blood. They don't like these contractors, these contracting, these vendors that would be bidding against you either. Because when you get comfortable in a space, you start charging whatever you want to charge because you got it blocked up. And ain't nobody out there, ain't nobody chasing you. So you just keep doing what you're doing and you take advantage, just like everybody does. These large companies do. Every time there's inflation, they blame everything on inflation and COVID. I don't believe it. Not all the time. Some things are bad because we don't have a supply chain. That goes back to the domestic manufacturing that I'm talking about. This is also how these other countries can control us because they got their stuff together. We're the ones that don't have our stuff together. So if they start charging more because they can, which they still are competitive against us, this is why we're in trouble. This is why we have all of these chip manufacturing companies blowing up because the Biden administration has said, you know what, if you do this, we'll do this, meaning we will give you some financial support. That's how badly we need these chips. They belong in these cars. They're beating us in certain cars. China is in certain cars. Even though China is having a very hard time right now, they are, because things are changing for them. And while they're having that hard time, we need to get our stuff together because we don't want their downfall, any other country's downfall. But the problem is they won't be able to help us still. Nobody will be able to help us. China had and is losing all of these major corporations from the United States right now. And so what these major corporations are doing, some of which supply parts or make parts that we will use to supply the government, they're moving to Mexico. They're moving right on the outskirts. They're moving to borderline Texas so that Biden's administration cannot put the kibosh on them selling to the United States. We don't have problems with Mexico, but we got problems with China. We got problems with Russia. We got problems with other countries. So anything that's coming from the areas where, and again, there are things they're not telling us. But I know when we start talking about economics between us and other countries, there are problems. And so all of this affects us. So yeah, we're going to have inflation. But this gas, I'm thinking, what the heck? Why is it 1 week the gas is $3.39 going down, and a few days later it's $4.49 because we depend on other countries too much for our gas. That is why this administration, this is why Elon Musk is basically, I can't stand the guy because I think he's too braggadocious. I don't like people bragging like that. It's not impressive to me, but he's very smart. He did something that was needed. And now we have 4, at least that I know of, 4 other car manufacturers that are making electric cars. This is a big deal. This is the future. That's how we control not needing gas as much as we do. I've driven cars that have gas and electric. You guys probably have too. So this is not a small thing. You could really easily, if you're focused, build and be a part of what's happening without other people knowing. Even these suppliers, some of them are sleeping. They're just sleeping. So you go in their territory and they're upset. Elon probably is not happy that there are a lot of other electrical cars that are coming out right now. But he used the government too. People don't know this. He got his money. Now, don't get me wrong, he was wealthy already, about $100 million wealthy, which is not bad at all. He's very creative. I do love that he thinks about where are the problems. All billionaires do. That's how you become very wealthy. I do the same thing. You think about where are the problems. That's why I listen every time a government changes. So let me see how this is going to affect me in my business and what I can do to help. And he did the same thing. He was the first to get the focus on, even though he didn't think of Tesla, he bought Tesla and he made it better. But he got the money from the government, $600 million. People don't know that. Now, did they just give it to him? No, they did not. He borrowed it. He had to pay it back. He does the same thing with solar because he's smart like that. And that about him, I do love. As a person, not interested. But that is how you need to think, how I need to think. That way, you're not looking saying, how is this guy doing this? He ain't using his own money. He's using the government's money. With the space thing, he's using the government's money. But he can show how, yeah, I mean, I can contribute some money to this, but I still need 500 million. And he doesn't have to use his own money. And then he can just, build something and make it go public and everybody wants in. But by the time you get in, you don't get the same benefits as everybody else, but it's extremely smart. He is moving his chip manufacturing plant that he works with, the company he works with in China, he's moving it to Mexico so that he can't be stopped having those chips become more expensive so that he still doesn't have to use an American company. That's where my problems are with that guy and these other guys, Lockheed Martin, Boeing. My problems with them are they don't invest, Apple. They don't invest in this country, not really. They're smart though. I'm not upset about that part of, but I'm saying, why do you have to be so greedy? There's so much money out here. Why can't you share some of that with the people that are in the United States? That's how come China is smarter. Their engineers are smarter with Apple than some of our engineers because they're getting the work. They're learning, they're growing. Why does Apple have to do so much work over there? But yet, we Americans, not me, but we Americans, we love Apple. It's like a cult. My kids love Apple. They're trying to convince me I'm not buying nothing from those people for this very reason, because I know things that my kids don't want to hear about. So, and I'm not saying they're not a great company. I'm just saying, Apple on average, minimum, has $750 billion at any given time overseas. What's so impressive about that? They're not contributing it over here. They're not paying taxes over here. So we can change all of this. There's another Apple coming out there, but maybe they'll be more American focused. And that's how you have to be. You can figure this out. If you want to do this, you can make a lot of money, a lot, but you got to start from the beginning. So the last thing is, I just want to, let me keep up with the time. I want to walk through, some of you have seen this. I have a video out here that talks about this. I don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but it's like 10 steps how this happens. And then I'll take you over it, and we'll look at this on an actual bidding scale. But this is exactly how it works. The contracting officer puts a bid out there, and I'm calling it a bid, but it is a bid, but puts a request for a product on the bid board system, which is a bid. You are looking on the list, you see that request out there. It's basically a request to buy a product. I need to buy 10 telephones. Can you help me? Can you buy that? That's basically what they're saying. Can you buy that for me? And they tell you what the product is exactly. Now you have to go and find that product. You go out there, you looked at the list because you've been watching that code, the FSC codes, and you identified this product that's needed. I'm going to stick with the telephones. They need 10 telephones. And you see, they're always buying telephones. So you have chosen a category that could work for you because you know where to find telephones. But you got to look to see where that specific telephone is and how it connects to the supplier. Who is the supplier? Is it a manufacturer, distributor, or retailer? Does not matter as long as it's the right product, the right part number. That's the key. NSN doesn't matter. Nothing else matters except that part number. Because that's how the contracting officer authenticates and identifies with what they need. So that's number two. You locate that request, the bid. Number three, you locate and price the item from a manufacturer, distributor, or supplier, or retailer, I call them. How do you do that? Well, they're going to give you some options. When I say they, when they put that request out there, what's going to happen is they have something in the system on the solicitation, but it's in the system. You will see Apple makes that product, and then I don't know, Kabachi or somebody makes the other product, the telephones. And so you're looking and saying, okay, so how do I get in contact with Apple? Or how do I get in contact with Kabachi to ask them about these phones? Because you immediately, if you're a business person, your mind is going to immediately do what's natural. You're going to think, I mean, does Apple even have a channel, meaning a system for small businesses? Probably not. I don't know because I don't work with them, but I don't know. But they could. So what you want to do is vet Apple and you want to vet Kabachi. How do you do that? You do that by looking them up to see if they're winning government contracts in this arena. If they are, then you stay away from them. If they are not, then you take it one step further. You go and look up Apple distributorship or just look up Apple's website to see how their retailing works. Like, could I buy from a wholesale a bunch of phones from Apple and then resell them to the government? The government has a general idea of how much the item is going to cost. They give you a list of I should say, they give you the history most of the time, not all the time, but 99% of the time, you're going to know what the last price was. So when you start talking to Apple, before you talk to Apple, you need to write this down, you know, what the last price was. But when you start talking to Apple, you're going to know, well, last year, they paid for this exact telephone $1,000. If I could get this for $800 and maybe mark it up a little bit, then I could sell it to the government. Maybe I could make a couple $100 off of each telephone. So you look to see that you can't do that with Apple, but you could do it with Kabachi because Kabachi is also not competing with you. So you go to Kabachi and you do the same thing. If you can, you do both. You contact them, see if you can get pricing, period. And you always ask them about the part number specifically, because if the government has a part number, it came from us. I now understand how these part numbers are done. They come from the manufacturer. We make them up. Government doesn't make them up. So now the government might put it in there a little bit different, or sometimes the government could ask for a unique product number. But most of the time, they're the same across the board. Okay. So that was all the way up to number three. Number four, you accept the manufacturer, distributor, or supplier's pricing. You add your markup to it and you go make the deal. How do you make the deal? You put it in the bid. And then when they see it, they might ask you questions. There's some stuff in between. They might ask you questions. They might ask you for traceability. You tell them, I'm working, Kabachi is the original manufacturer. They might ask you for some other information. You provide that information. Next thing you know, you are awarded. That's number six. They accept your offer. That's what that means. They accepted your offer. If they accept your offer, they award you the contract. And then you purchase the products. You don't have to purchase. That's another great thing about DLA. Well, actually about government contracting, period. You don't have to purchase the product until you win the award. Now, when you're working with the supplier on the pricing, before we get to number seven, you want to make sure that you know what the inventory looks like. So if they say, well, we have it, but we only have three, how many do you need? Well, when you requested the pricing, you told them that you need 10. Don't never tell them exactly how many you need. Like stick close to the area because you just don't know who knows who. You never talk partner. I mean, you never talk NSN. You only talk part number. If somebody knows what an NSN is, they're probably already working with the government and you don't want to deal with them. If you find out that if they ask you about, well, what's the NSN? You say, well, do you do government? And if they say yes, you say, well, do you have partnerships? Do you work with small businesses? A lot of times, some of them will come right out and say, well, we're going to bid on that. That is why you have to vet. Because that, if you're just starting, that would upset you. It would upset me. It actually happened to me. That's why I said, you know what, these people are so fake. Before I knew all of the things that I'm teaching you guys, I would get so frustrated. And I didn't even spend the kind of time that you guys spend. I'm used to just getting information, talking to people. Some of them were not sending me pricing back. I didn't know at first it was because of what I learned down the line. The only reason I know all this stuff is because I did it and I do it. I found out these scoundrels, they're going behind my back. I didn't know that in the beginning. I didn't know. And now I did know not to tell them what the NSN was. I did know not to tell them what the FSC was, but I didn't vet them at first. I would just look up some people either in the system to see if I could find some other manufacturers, or I would just use the approved sources that the government was giving me. And then I realized, oh my God, that's why some of them were acting so funny because I'm in their territory. So they wouldn't give me pricing. I thought some of it was chauvinism too, because I would be in an area where there were no women, all men. And but I didn't care about that. So that's why you hear my stories about me making my own products, because there were some things that I didn't know how to get around. But my products ended up coming out, even though I would find the manufacturer to do it, they would make more money than me because they made the product. I don't have a problem with that. If you make 60,000 and I make 30, I'm okay with that. You done made the product. All I got to do is manage you. That's all I have to do is manage you. So anyway, I realized that this is why they're not talking to me. The margins were bigger anyway when I went and made my own bolts. I had a client that I taught him government contracting. He was an aerospace manufacturer. He made my bolts for me. And I couldn't believe the amount of profit that was in between. I kept asking him, are you making any money off of this or are you just doing this for me? He says, Michelle, I'm good. I'm gonna do fine. And I said, so why is the price so different? I said, are these other companies gouging the government? He said, probably. Probably. So that's when I figured out, okay, so they really are gouging the government. Because remember, I'm just learning too at that time. I was new too. I was just moving faster because I knew government contracting on the other side. I was winning on the other side and SAM. So these things you eliminate. I teach you move around the roadblocks. Don't go right in that dark hole because they will have you feeling like you can't even bid on certain things. They used to do that a lot. When I say they, I mean these people that have been here for a while, these contractors, just like you, they've been here for a while. They were trying to intimidate people that would come into their area. I said, why did you call them? You didn't even check them out. Michelle, I don't know how to do that. That's when I realized I need to teach people how to vet these contractors. So and it only takes you 10 minutes. And then you start building a portfolio of your own suppliers, ones you know you can trust. Some of them will say to you, yeah, I mean, I know about government, but we don't do government. Would you like to work together? Some of them will say to you, no, we're going to bid on that, but I'm trying to keep you from dealing with that. They will have you thinking they're the only ones that can bid on that. If you're in the, it's like, okay, then, my response to something like that, I've always been kind of a smart aleck. Don't talk to me like that because if you're bidding on that, why has it been sitting there for 6 months? So it's because I just told them, but I let them know. So I wasn't going to deal with a lot of that. I wasn't. I figured out how to do things on my own. I also remembered I had some relationships that I could leverage. And, so I just learned. That's how I teach you to avoid, the drama. as I call it. So number A, the manufacturer delivers the product to you. And then in the course, in the mentorship and all of that, I'm starting to talk more about how do I save money? How do I make sure my profit margins are going to be good? Some things I didn't realize you guys were not doing or you didn't know. Like if the manufacturer is working with you, but they're charging you a fortune for shipping, you need to figure out another way to be shipping. Meaning, I mean, we're a manufacturer, but we have to use other vendors for different things. For maybe we need some raw material. We don't let them control our shipping. No, we're going to have that picked up ourselves because they're just going to try to gouge us. And I did that with the paint. I had to do that with the bolts because you start realizing, but I didn't know until, I'll be honest, just recently, one of my proteges in the mentorship program or the mastermind was saying, Michelle, how can I control these shipping costs? And until he explained to me what some of the manufacturers were doing, he could still make profit. I realized, and so we did it in the mentorship. I need to talk to you guys about how to make sure you're having better profits because I did not know that the manufacturers were adding fees on top of or padding the shipping is what they're trying to do. So it's things like that you need to be aware of because he called back the shipper and said, can you work on these shipping pricing, the shipping part of this? Your part is very reasonable and I'm going to work with you, but the shipping is kind of ridiculous. And they told him no. I said, well, this is what you do. You get your own shipping together. And when you order something from these people, you have it picked up. So I had no idea that the manufacturers were doing this. Scoundrels. To me, that is very scammy. Why are you doing that? When you got a new customer that is meaning another business, a business to business. So I don't know. People are just not, I don't know, just greedy for the scarcity. That is a scarcity mindset. So do you want the business to come back and buy more product from you? If the answer is yes, then why are you trying to scam them with shipping? Telling them shipping should be $300 when it should only be $75. Why are you doing that? And I tell people, so what you should do is, where the product is coming from. You need to call around and find out. You call FedEx, you find out from the post office, you find out from FedEx, UPS, how much would the product cost? I need you to pick something up. How much would it cost to ship from here to here? And I said, that's what we do. But you guys help me help you because I did not know that manufacturers were that scandalous. Because maybe it's because of the things that I do are on a bigger scale. So a lot of the vendors that I work with, they don't have shipping at all. They tell us, well, we could ship it for you. We could use your account or our account. But I tell them, no, we'll take care of it. If it's something that needs a truck, we will send our own truck. So, okay. So just think about that. That's part of your profit. That's what the bid pricing template is for products. Okay. Then number 9, you receive and repair the product, and prepare the product to be shipped. The government tells you how they want it to be shipped. And you look at that on the solicitation and on the award. And then lastly, you send the product to DLA, they have to accept it, meaning it could be delivered to them, but it's not accepted totally. So acceptance is different than delivery. They accept it, and then it goes in the system, you invoice them, and you get paid. As long as there are no problems with the shipment, and you have to keep all of your documentation together for every contract. It belongs together in case you get asked some questions, okay? Now, lastly, you guys are so quiet. You're probably just paying attention. But I already told you DLA buys everything, not just 1 or 2 things. That's why there are 5,000 on there. But you name it, 5,000 categories, not 5,000 products. There are probably 1 million products. I'm not kidding. There are 5,000 categories. I call an FSC code a category. So the key is for you to find things that the government consistently buys over and over. That's how you get at what we call an IDIQ, a 5-year contract where they're consistently buying from you, or one contract where they're saying, we're going to start buying at 50,000, but it'll grow to 250,000. That's the max. Those are what we call SAPs, simplified acquisitions, okay? Products that are difficult to find. Well, how would you know that? You don't know that right away until you start doing the research. That's why step one is very important, because you find things that are just sitting there. Those are products that are consistently out there that the government buys, but they're not getting a lot of support or help. They can hardly buy enough of those things. And also, when you have those supplier relationships, you can use that same supplier over and over and over again under that FSC category. Okay. Oh, one last thing. The low, no competition bids. Those are the ones that are just sitting there. But if you call your supplier that is supposed to be an approved source and you wake them up, they will send somebody out there, go out there and bid low on those things just to get you out of the way. There's some areas, not a lot. I would say hardware, even though if you go look at hardware, oh my God, millions of things sitting out there. But you got these game players, these blockers that have been there for a long time, controlling the market. Not anymore, not since I came into the picture, not until I started teaching you guys how to do this, not anymore. And all we're going to do is grow and grow and multiply. Okay. So I said this already kind of, but DLA, they need to buy all of these millions of products that are just sitting out there. Now, this is what the list looks like. You will see this. Some of you just go by the list. We have it on our website. What this list does is, which is good, if you don't have your SAM set up already, this is the DLA list. All the FSC codes are here. Product service codes are codes that you could generally use on the SAM side. So if I were looking for certain types of products, I would go over on the SAM side, or certain types of services, that's for the SAM side. But you can use these FSC codes, at least the first 2 digits, on the SAM side as well to find larger contract opportunities for DLA. But you will use all FSC codes in DLA. You cannot use letters. It has to be 4 digits. That is your category. That's what I call an FSC category, meaning it can all begin with 9920, but you could have 50, 60, 100 products under 9920. I know some of you don't know what I mean, but those of you that are in the program, you know exactly what I mean. You go to 9920, and I'm going to show you a quick example of that. Looks like we're doing okay. I'm going to go through a quick example of that to show you guys exactly what I mean. So all of the but all of the types of contracts where you can win awards are on this list. You just have to take one of these codes, FSC codes, and go to the bid board and start looking around. That's what you do. And then you say, okay, I kind of like this category. That's how you do it. What else is this? I thought I have another one after this. Okay, so this is what it looks like. You now start bidding 20 to 30 a month. You plant those seeds. Some people have a lot more than that. And I tell them, be careful, because you're going to start winning. And the next thing you know, it's going to be overwhelming. So please be careful. People laugh at me when I say, don't worry about not winning. You need to worry about winning, because once you start winning, especially if you have a lot of seeds planted, you need to be careful. It's just going to start coming very fast. Okay. Have somebody in the wings, if you can, to help you with the packaging, with the responding. It's a lot. This is one of those categories that I'm talking about. Now, when I look at the list for 5920, 5910, it does not say anything about capacitors. It says, I think it says something like capacitor, or it says variable or manufacturing, certain type of manufacturing, but you will see that sometimes. It's like when I was looking for, a client said to me, Michelle, we got to hook up with some televisions. We can't find televisions on this list right here. And I said, okay, let me look. So I figured it out, because televisions, they don't call it televisions. It's a different type of FSC code, FSC code, and it is under monitors. manufacturing monitors. And I thought, see, this is why government is so weird. They just, so we found it, but that didn't make any sense. To me, a monitor is not a television, but it was under that category. Okay, so here, this was kind of the same situation. So it's 5910, but there's all kinds of stuff under here. This is one of those categories. If someone has the capacity to figure out how do I get to capacitors, maybe they work for Honeywell. Maybe they work for one of the other companies that works with capacitors. They're on a roll. But let's say I'm interested in this area and I don't know anything about it. I will take you over there in just a few minutes to show you how you would deal with something like that. But okay, so this is just an example. Some of you have been on the bid board system, so you know what this is. But here you have the NSN, which is you never talk NSNs to a supplier, never. If they bring it up, that tells you they gave themselves away. They know about DLA. Nobody knows about DLA except us, those of us that win DLA contracts. The average, even people that do government contracts, they don't know what this is. So never use an NSN. That's one of my main secrets that I've always told people. Never talk an NSN. Because when you talk that, they either won't know what you're talking about, and they will feel they can't help you, or they will know what you're talking about, and then you will start to feel the energy change. Because maybe there's someone who is going to bid against you. This is their area. So, and they don't make that clear. They just show up as one of the approved sources. So this is the name of the product, the nomenclature. This is the technical documents, and I usually recommend that people stay away from this until they learn the system. If you have a relationship with someone or your plan is to work with a contract manufacturer to make products, or that's your goal, like mine, to become a manufacturer, eventually you will go in here and pull out the drawings and start working with someone to make your product, okay? But most of the time, there are a lot of no-tech docs, a lot, okay? Solicitations, that is something that you utilize because you don't have to do this as paperwork. If you were to click on this right here, you can click on this solicitation, download it, and solicitations are very important. They're support for information that you need. You see in there the packaging, you see things that tell you how many they want to order, just like here. A lot of this information is on there, okay? But when you're ready to quote, you already have everything done. Like the pricing, this will help you with the pricing. You could see the last award for pricing, things like that. It'll help you and guide you. And then after you have all of the information you need, like which supplier you want to work with, what's the pricing, all of those things, then you come in here, you click quote, and that's where this little 15-minute, 20, it will probably take you longer the first time. But this is where you go in here. It's 2 pages of information you have to, actually it's only 1 page. When it goes to the next page, it's actually asking you to go ahead and confirm that it's correct. It's very easy if you know what to do. I'm saying easy in the sense of I tell you what to do. So that's why it's easy. If you don't know what to do and you don't have anybody guiding you, you will mess this up and you could get yourself into some trouble. So, but once you learn what the questions are and how to answer them, it's easy. And that's where you put in your pricing in here. Then this is just the purchase order number that really doesn't mean anything. You're only going to click on these areas here if you're doing this by yourself. And then the issue date and the return date. So, I mean, that's obvious, but a lot of people forget if something is sitting here, if you were looking for lowest hanging fruit, you might decide you want to look at the old contracts that are just sitting there. How do you know they're just sitting there by the return date? Because it's still blue. If it was quoted, it would show awarded. So if you do all of these by return dates, you would see. And sometimes the awarded ones fall off, okay? Now I have a couple of questions before okay. Is this Tina? Tina, I thought you were already in the class. Tina, you must be buying a lot of stuff from us. You are on our list. Um, oh, you are in a couple of other programs. Okay. And you, okay. Yes, Tina, we'll make sure you get in today. You guys will have the opportunity. We will give you some deals today also, okay? Um, Also, if you do not have the FSCs and SAM, can you still bid on it in DIBS? Yes. You can. There's so many great DLA. If you don't understand it, let's say you don't go through my program because we tell you everything, but let's say you don't, you were doing this on your own. DLA has so many great things about it. You don't, they're the only ones that don't care about your codes. Tina, do I suggest that you go in and put them in? Yes, but you don't have to wait to put them in. You can start bidding as soon as you get in. As soon as you register, go through the process that I show you in the program, you get in. And then once you're in, then, and here's why it's almost better not to have them in already, even though you do need to make that connection. Because meaning when I say make the connection, you need to take your NACE codes and your FSC codes once you learn. A lot of us don't start out the right way, meaning the key is to choose the right codes, whether you're doing services or products. If you don't choose the right codes, you can't find your buyers. That's especially on the SAM side. But when you do the research, that's why I have a small program out there called GovCon. Tina, I think that's the program you have. And it does teach you the foundation, but a lot of this will make sense, Tina, once you start getting ready to actually win. Because the GovCon is really a foundational program to help people understand your codes are how the buyers find you, and how you find them. They're the key to everything. That's how you win. Because if you know, for instance, this 5910 is the FSC for a category you want to be in, when you start bidding in that category, the next thing you know, you start winning, and next thing you know, you have an IDIQ for 4 or 5 years. Or you have an award where they want to give you up to $250, $250,000. That's why I tell people be careful, because some people, I've had people to get so overwhelmed, and they're like, Michelle, I went back and took some of those bids out. I said, I'm laughing with you, not at you, because I told them that was going to happen. They said, yeah, you did tell us. I think people don't believe me, but that's how it's going to happen. You can't worry about not winning. You need to worry about winning to be ready, period. The end. Be ready, win, and be ready, or be ready to win. Either or, all of the factors are true. Okay, so you don't even have to have all your codes right. But that list that we give you and that some of you buy, that list helps you to. So let's say I pick 5910 as my FSC code. It cross-references over to what the NACE code should be for 5910. Even though DLA never really uses NACE codes unless it's in SAM. Okay. So now this is the hot list. If you get into the program today, you guys have 24 hours to watch the replay. I know there's some people, there are a lot more people supposed to be here, but I mean, I do this once a month. I want people to save money, even though our programs are very inexpensive compared to what they could be. I want anybody that wants to be in this program and get in and start winning to think of this as a small investment to grow to where I am, or something similar. It doesn't have to be exactly what I'm doing, but I know if you are an entrepreneur, I mean, you're in it to make money, period, the end. But you also want to have a passion for something. You could have 3 different arenas that you can be in right under one contracting system. I do. I do. I have a lot of medical stuff, but I also got into chemical materials manufacturing because we decided we want to make some of our own products. That's a whole nother arena. We made a whole nother division just because of that. And guess where I started seeing where my materials could work? Right here in DLA. Right here in DLA. I thought, oh my God, we could make this. And then that's what made me open up my mind more. And I saw the type of material that we were making over in SAM, because I transpose a lot of things from DLA over to SAM. Okay, so now let me tell you about this hot list. This hot list is already we're going to give you guys, if you get in today, only today, between the course is $12.97, but this, if you got the course and people do, they get the course and this, it's almost $1,500. But we would give this to you today, and you could um, get anywhere from 25 to 40 products out of this. We have so many of these right now that we're having to, I haven't even posted them because my team and I are trying to organize certain things. But I have a procurement team now, procurement research team. I have them do these for me. I taught them how to do this. It's a lot of research, but I also have a lot of knowledge about the suppliers that I know are not difficult for us to work with. So now some of these suppliers, even though they have the products, some of them are starting to go up in pricing. So I'm trying to watch this. I'm planning to have a hot list meeting for everyone that has a hot list because I want to see how things are going. But I know people can win because a lot of my very big winners, they started here and then they just took off. So these, I'm impressed with myself for creating this, to be honest with you. I just didn't know how to, I'm always trying to think of things to try to help you guys help yourselves and help you move faster. I do not want to make you lazy, but I do want you to not be intimidated. I know for a fact this supplier is not going to give you a hard time because they're like me. They just want to make money, do business, make everybody happy, and work with companies like yours. This supplier, and I mean, we didn't give you the real name, obviously, but my suppliers on the hot list, they will give you credit. That's why I said it's a bonus. You start working with them on the small deals, the next thing you know, they're telling you you have the option to get credit or you have the option to buy it. Amazing. So I'm finding out that some of my people, I just found this out a couple of days ago. Some of my people that started out worrying about money because they have other businesses I said, and I make fun of them because I tell, aren't you the person that was worried about money? They're like, Michelle, I have all this credit now. These people haven't been in the program for like ever. I mean, one of them that I'm thinking of, he's been in 6 months. He has other businesses. He was concerned, we have businesses and we have to use some of our money that we make, our profit that we make from other companies. That's me. I don't have to worry about the government saying to me, well, how much did you put of your own money in this? They won't say it like that, but I needed to be at a certain place to ask for or to win a contract for a certain amount. Thank God I've made some great decisions. So I don't know how I would have bought or gotten a lab years ago. I mean, I've always done well, but a lab, I mean, that's another 60,000 for just to have the lab. And so those things are the things, this is how you start building situations like that. I've just been very blessed to make some good decisions. And thank God I didn't have to go to my husband for that kind of money. He probably would have said, no, absolutely not. I'm sick of you, but I just thank the Lord that I've been very fortunate in thinking about how to do things, even though it seems like a struggle sometimes, but you figure it out because you keep at it. And that's what I did. So now when I approach, if there was money out there for what I do, the grants, and it's not completely a grant, but you have to show them and demonstrate to them. I got some of those on my radar too. I'm going to show you guys how to do those too, because those are not going to go away. There is hidden, I don't like to call it hidden money, but there's hidden money out there for manufacturers. But I have to be in a certain space. But how do you get there? You have to write these huge documents, which I'm used to. That doesn't scare me. Me finding the time to do it is what scares me. So I try to do you guys what I do for myself. This team that I built, now I can create these faster because I was the only one that knew how to do this. And my other people, the rest of my team, they have other stuff to do. I can't ask them to do these things. But now I have people that only focus on research. And they help me too for some of my other manufacturing things. So the bonus with this is not only are you getting history to show that you are a solid business, these are the people I'm talking about. These suppliers, I have like 4 of them that I'm pretty confident about right now. So we can't even keep up with them fast enough. I just tell my team what to focus on. They go find, and they do all of this for you. So you'd have all of this filled in, and then you would actually have, all you have to do is one thing. and that is call for pricing. That's it. Because you could click on this link, you could click on this link, you could even click on this link and quote right from the spreadsheet. I would suggest that when you get these, that you are actually logged in so that it'll take you right into the quote page, or it'll take you, these two, you'll be able to see whether you logged in or not. But if you're thinking you're going to quote on something, you go here. And you know what else the other amazing thing is? You just sign up for an account. You guys, most of you guys didn't even know that. A lot of my people didn't, they're like, I didn't know I could do that. Yeah, and then you can get your own pricing. So what I've done is combine steps 1 and 2 together to help you move faster. That's why I've changed what I say from 30 to 45 days, 15 to 30 days, I think I said, because it's real. Some people, it still may take them 30 days, but it won't take you 45. Not if you do commitment, consistency, and discipline. Okay. So that's this one. We have a little more time. We just have 15 more minutes. So let's go here. I want to take you over to the actual div system so that I can show you what goes on. I'm going to need to leave you guys here just for a second. So I will pause the screen while I get Google opened and go to DLA dibs, and then I'll reshare the screen with you guys. Okay, so let me reshare. So we're going into dibs, and I will show you some examples of things that I just talked about. So let me reshare okay, you guys should see my screen. It should show that we are on the DLA dibs board system. So some of you guys know, you won't spend a lot of time over here once you register, but once you get in and you get registered, this is where you're going to spend your time, right here, most of your time, or especially early on in the beginning. You're going to take that list, that what I call DLA list, with the FSC codes and the NACE codes, and you are going to choose the FSC code. So you can research by FSC code, which is Federal Supply Class, solicitation number. You won't have that. So in the beginning, you can't, unless you have experience in these areas, you wouldn't know what to do with these. You will know what to do with these sometimes when you're doing research. But right here under Federal Supply Class, what you're going to do, so let's just deal with that one, that 5910, that is very weird. So 5910, these are the first 4 digits, which is the FSC code for any product. An NSN is a full product, but the FSC is only an FSC product category. Okay, so I will click here on search. What are we going to find? We will find 505 opportunities just sitting out here. 505 requests from contracting officers asking for help. And right away, we already see, 2023 items. So let's just walk through this first before I show you some other things. One thing I want to do is, give me a second. I want to open another DLA dibs in case. One of the things when you're researching, you might always want to have another page open too, because you're going back and forth. Once you start learning how to do things, you might want to look at another tab while you're doing some research. So here, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and click on return by date, because I want to see some of the low-hanging fruit. Now, these are very old. I like to, if they're too old, 2021, 2022, those are really old. I would contact, if they're non-tech docs, I also would stick with the non-tech doc ones. I like to contact the contracting officer to ask them, do they still need these? Because the truth of the matter is, and dibs will even tell you that if it's still sitting out there, they need it. It could be because they're changing some things also. They're looking for sources. This is their way of looking for sources. You have no idea the amazing things that happen sometimes when you just respond to something, like I did. Some things are just, so these things out here, these are things that maybe they might be looking for alternate sources. Now, nobody tells you that. I'm just telling you that because I know that's how it works on the SAM side. Sometimes things are just sitting there, sources soughts are sitting there and they still have them open. To me, these are still like sources soughts. Okay, so let's get into the rest. So I clicked on the return by date. Maybe you don't want to do that old. Maybe you want to look at something in 2023. But do you guys see how ridiculous this is? Now, I will tell you, I think something's going on in this arena. I do. The reason I say that is because I think what's happening, because now I'm a manufacturer, a lot of these parts that are manufactured by these large companies are have distributors attached to them. If the government is not buying a lot of these, and the distributors or the suppliers or contractors like us don't know that the government is buying them because they're just sitting out here. I teach you guys, you should come out of here and look every day. But I think part of the problem is if Honeywell made this capacitor, just as an example, yes, they have distributors that could sell it. But if Honeywell had a small business to make this, because a lot of things Honeywell doesn't make themselves. Lockheed doesn't either. They make some things, but a lot of things they don't make. A lot of these products are made by us, small businesses. So let's say they have a small business that they hired many years ago to make this product, but they don't have the product made anymore. So the small business that made it, we don't know who it is. We only know Honeywell. They're not going to tell us. They may even act like they own the product, and they do probably. They did just what I did. They did the same thing I did when I had the bolts made. So the problem comes when nobody else is making this product. That's the domestic manufacturing problem. So when you go out here to look, so let's click on a non-tech doc one. We're going to go out here to look. Now this says, this is a great example. This says Kemet Electronics. If you were using the hot list, when you clicked on the NSN on the hot list, it'll bring you right here. It will also tell you who these people are because we've already vetted them. If we put Kemet on there, that's because we know Kemet has the product, or they could do it, or they usually have the product. Even if they're out of stock, they have the product. If we put Kemet on there, we're telling you that Kemet is a friendly supplier, and you should not have any problems with them. If we put them on here and we tell you to sign up, which we're focused on all the ones that have their own store, that means all you got to do is find out from here, this solicitation right here that I would click on, what the pricing was, the last pricing before you call Kemet. On the hot list, we give you the cage code of Kemet. We already have it on there. We give you the part name of Kemet, and we give you Kemet's name, and then we give you Kemet's telephone number and their website, and we tell you, use this link to sign up. That's how easy we made it. And the hot list now, I mean, when I first started the hot list, they weren't perfect last year. I liked them, but there was a lot of hit or miss. Now, this is it. I figured out how to help my team make sure, because I approve the suppliers, because I know all these suppliers. I know where you can win for a fast start. Okay. So all of this would be there. All you have to do is go back to your list and you would find out what the pricing is. Now, let's say while we're doing this, we find that Kemet is not a good supplier. Not at all. Then we would replace it, or we would take it off of your list because we don't want you to spend time with it. If we leave it on your list, like I used to leave the do not contacts on the list, because if you are in a certain category, like this is a category where when we figure this category out, whether it's us or you, that means multiple winnings, because the contracting officers in this category, they don't have enough help. They're not getting people to focus. And I got a feeling it's because of what I said. Honeywell could own this, but you don't see them here necessarily. But one of the big players owns this NSN, or I should say this partner. And they are controlling who can distribute it, rightfully so. But what if we call Kemet and Kemet doesn't have it? Kemet says, we could get it for you, but it could take a few weeks. That's a good thing. But if that's the case, then you need to talk to Kemet and say, how long would that take? How much do you have? You know, how soon can you get this? And can I get a quote? That's it. And if Kemet has a store, which is what we're focused on right now, if Kemet has it where you can set up an account, you don't even have to talk to Kemet yet. You only talk to Kemet if if you like their pricing, or if you sign up for your account, you get the pricing, and then maybe the pricing is good, but maybe you want a better discount. Then you might call Kemet's customer service and say, hey, I need to buy 50 of these. Can you do better than this if I buy in bulk? And you might want to buy in bulk because maybe you know there are more coming, more of these types of opportunities. Because how would you know? Because you did more research and you realize the government spends $84 million a year in this category. And that's how this works. But that's how the hot list connects. But when you are doing step one, choosing a product, that could take you days or a week. When you're choosing to find the suppliers, that could take you a good week and a half, maybe longer, maybe even 3 weeks. Maybe it slows you down. Maybe you're frustrated. Maybe you put it down and you come back. Like I tell people to do, you're frustrated right now. Just put it down and come back. But that's how this works. So that's it for today. You guys will get a replay of this. And you guys were really a quiet group. Let me make sure that I got all the questions. I did. Oh, wait. Okay. Yep, I did. You guys were really good and I appreciate it. I wasn't bombarded with questions like I usually am. Thank you for joining me today. We'll get this together and we'll get the offer out there to you. We have to do it today because you only have until tomorrow at midnight. But Tina, you are a current client and we will take care of you. Okay. So um, look for the email. It'll come from my email, but my team sends it. It's actually already prepared. All we need to do is just get the video for you, okay? In case you want to listen again until you make a decision. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I hope to see you guys in the community with me. Have a great weekend. Talk to you soon.